Okay, fifth grade. I just had done a video, but it didn't work, so I'm making a whole new video again. As you noticed today, guys, I am not in class, and that is because I had some car issues. I came out to Flagstaff and to visit my brother, and I had car issues. Okay, so you have a sub today, and I'm hoping that you guys are already being really respectful to her. Okay, if you guys are being respectful and good, I'm proud of you, but you need to be making sure you are being respectful. Because if you are being disrespectful, you're going to have a serious consequence tomorrow. On Tuesday, yep. Alright, so you've already done the morning routine. We did your prayer, you went to language arts, you should have done some reading. About 30 minutes is the most you could have done. And now we're starting math. Now you guys have a math video you're going to be watching. These three people, Josh and Allie and Chaske, remember we've talked about this. Turn your desks around and don't make a big deal about it with the substitute teacher, and life will go good. Then you're going to have lunch and you're going to come back and do study hall. You should finish your reading during this time or finish the math. Nobody should ask for free time, okay? Everybody should have some reading to do. If you finished your 45 minutes early, good. Keep reading some more. You can get extra bonus points. And then you should finish your math as well. After your study hall time, you're going to have spelling. And you're going to watch a video I have posted on that. After that, you're going to watch a video I have on Bible. You're going to go to recess. You're going to come back for music. Sorry, guys. And from 3 to 3:30, you need to turn in the math that I have for you. Turn in your Bible notes, your spelling activity, and your reading log. Then when you finish those 4 things, you need to start your chores. Okay? Now, guys, please, 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 show some respect. Be independent today. And I'm sorry I'm not there. I am, like I said, there was some issues with the car. But on Tuesday we'll be there and we'll do some more stuff and it'll all be good. So let's work on some math. And I'm really kind of annoyed with this math thing because I had already done more than half the video. See? I had already done stuff and now I have to redo it. Okay. Okay, there is a lot of stuff here, but guys, that's just because earlier, like I said, I had already written everything down and it deleted everything. So first step you're going to do is grab some sheet papers from your organizer bin and, oh, you know what? Don't do that. Just open your notes to the newest page and write chapter 6 multiplying decimals, okay? That's the first thing you're going to do. Second thing you're going to do is you're going to write down the academic vocabulary, okay? And what I mean by academic vocabulary, I mean that it's just all of the words we are going to be learning this lesson time, during this lesson. So, because these stuff are going to be on the test, okay? I'm going to start teaching you guys the vocabulary, math vocabulary, and testing you on them. Okay, so one of the academic words we're learning, academic vocabulary for math, is decimal. You can highlight that if you want. Decimal means that it is a number with one or more digits to the right of the decimal point. So this is a regular number, right? 176. I have 176 pieces of paper. But then everything that goes from the decimal point to the right would be called a decimal number. It's a number with one or more digits to the right of the decimal point. So this is a decimal point here. Everything to the right of it is a decimal. It's a decimal number. Another word we're going to be learning is product. Oh, man. What is product? Well, product is I'm sorry guys, I'm trying to delete that, but kind of messed it up. Okay, a product is the answer to a multiplication problem. So if you have 1 times 1, the product is 1. The answer to a multiplication problem. So easy enough, simple enough. Oh, I did another example here. 6 times 6 is 36. You have 6, which is a factor, times 6, which is another factor, equals 36, which is the product. The product is the answer to a multiplication problem. Alright, now remember, if I'm going too fast, pause the video and catch up. Now our essential question for today's lesson is, how can patterns help you place the decimal point in a product? Now today we are going to be learning how to multiply decimals. We are looking at patterns. We're going to try to see how patterns will help us when we are multiplying decimal numbers. Okay, with that known, let's scroll down to our first engage problem. Okay, you're going to have to pause this again, and you're going to write this down in your notebook, okay? Try to write nicely, okay? Because I want to make sure you guys are using this for the test. Some of you said, hey, I can't use my notes because they're messy. You're right. You can't use your notes if they're all messy. So make sure you're writing nicely. Okay, so let's jump into our first engaged problem. Cindy is combining equally sized rectangles from different fabric patterns to make a postage stamp quilt. Now, what is a postage stamp quilt? Let me show you. This is a postage stamp quilt. You see there are a bunch of different equally sized rectangulars sewed together to form a huge postage stamp quilt. Okay, so that's what Cindy is making. Each rectangle has an area of 0.75 of a square inch. So that means everything inside the inside of each square is 0.75 square inches, okay? And first I need you to do, I need you to get your highlighter and highlight 0.75 of a square inch. Why? Because that is our first event. This is the first thing we found out. I'm sorry, my thing went out of line. So highlight 0.75 of a square inch. If she uses 1,000 rectangles, go ahead and highlight that too. So she's going to make 1,000. She's going to stitch together 1,000 of these patch quilts together. She's going to stitch 1,000 of these squares together to make a postage stamp quilt. To make the quilt, what will be the area of the quilt? So the problem is asking, what is the area of this quilt? That means how much of this the area. Now we haven't talked about area yet, but that's what we're trying to figure out, the area, the inside of each inside. I'm sorry guys, I'm not talking right. I'm sorry. What is the area of each of those rectangles? So we are going to use a pattern to find the product, okay? First thing you're going to do is you're going to draw a square, just one square. And, oops, I lost my square. One square on your notebook paper. And you're going to write 1, because that's how much, we're only looking at one single square, one rectangle. Now inside the rectangle there is the area. Now remember, I said the area is inside. We're trying to figure out the area of this square. The area is 0.75. So 1 times 0.75 is going to be 0.75. Now how do we know that? Because when we multiply by 1, remember I said 1 is like a mirror. When we are multiplying, only multiplying, not when we're adding or subtracting. When we're multiplying, 1 with any number is just going to equal the same number. So a 0.75 could be looking at itself in the mirror in the 1, and it's just going to pop out 0.75. All right, second thing we're going to do, because we're trying to find out the area of 1,000, right? We only found the area, we know the area of one single rectangle. What about 10 of them? What about 10 rectangles? What would the area be for 10 of these stitched together? So it's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So like this square here, what's the area of those 10 quilt? All right. So right now I want you to draw 10 10 squares, like how I did, and we're trying to find the area, the inside, okay? Now, here's a new word for you, okay? Which you're probably going to learn in geometry or somewhere else. When I keep saying inside each square because that's the area. If we're trying to find the kind of length of the quilt, how big it is, we're going to be looking at its... When we're trying to find the length, we're looking for the perimeter, okay? The outside. So I keep saying the inside because we're looking for the area, not the outside, which is the perimeter. Okay, so we have 10. That was just a nice tidbit I threw in there for you. We have 10 rectangle little square thingies. And we're trying to find the area, and each of them has an area of 0.75, so we're going to multiply. Now, you guys don't know how to do this yet. Oh man, the decimal point in this one's wrong. Let me fix that. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is you're going to take your highlighter and highlight the 0 in 10. Why? Well, I'll tell you why, okay? So once you highlight that, we are going to move the decimal point. How many times are we going to move it, Miss Nottawa? Or where are we going to be moving this decimal point? Why are you saying we're moving it? We're moving it because I'm trying to teach you about the pattern. The pattern of decimals when we multiply decimals, okay? And we're going to be moving it to the right because we're multiplying the decimal, okay? So if you look up here, I'm going to scroll down in my notes, okay? When we multiply decimals like 1 times 0.1, we are going to be moving our decimal point to the right, okay? So we are going, look, if we look up here, let's check what I'm talking about. We are multiplying by a decimal, 0.75. So we're going to be moving the decimal point, this guy here, to the right. We have 1 0, so the decimal point is going to move 1. Boom. It's going to move 1. Let's use another type of language. It's going to move dopende. It's going to move dopende, which is 1 in Zuni. It's going to move uno, which is 1 in Spanish. So then we're going to rewrite the number. Just put down 75. But the decimal point has been moved. Instead of being over here, is moved to right to the middle between 7 and 5 because we moved it 1 decimal point over. Why? Because we're multiplying the decimals. When we multiply decimals, we're just going to be moving the whole number, the decimal point 1, if it's 10 like that. Okay, so now we looked at 10. Let's look at 100 because she did not just make a quilt with 10 rectangles sewed together. But she also did not just make a quilt with 100. She made a quilt with 1,000, but we still need to figure out the pattern, what the answer is for our area. Okay, so you're going to draw your square, put 100 in it because I am not going to draw you 100 squares, and I don't think you want to. So put a square, and because we're trying to figure out 100, then you're going to write 100 down times 0.75. Then take your highlighter and highlight the 2 zeros because that's going to help us figure out how many times we are going to move our decimal point. How many zeros are there, guys? 2. So that means we're moving this guy here 2 places. 1, 2. Dopinde quickly. Let's do Spanish. 1, 2. So our decimal point should be right smack dab there. So the answer should be 75 point. Now you don't have to do this. I'm just doing this here for the benefit of you to see where the decimal point goes. 75.000. 0.00. Now the decimal point is going to be invisible right now, okay? We're going to take that out because you don't need to put the decimal point there. The answer really is only 75. But if it helps you to physically move the decimal point and then for you to show it, you should totally do that. And then if you want, you can put the zeros. But after you do that, if these two are zeros, you don't have to include them. Just take them out and the answer is 75. Okay, now let's move on to the last one. This is where we are going to find out how much area Cindy's patch quilt, postage stamp quilt is actually the area of it all. So take your highlighter and highlight the zeros because the zeros tell us how many times we're going to move the decimal. How many zeros do we have there? We have 3. So we're going to be moving this decimal guy 3 times. 1, 2, 3. But hey, wait. There's no number here. Good spotting. If you do a jump like this, one of these things here, let's change the color to blue. When you do jumps like that and you open it quickly, 3 times and there's nothing there, you're going to put a 0 right there. So we jumped 3 times. So what is our new number? Well, our new number is put down the number, actually 75. And remember, we added that 0 there. So it's 750. And the decimal point will go smack dab right there. So the decimal point goes right here. And if it helps you to put the decimal point there, go for it. And then there will be the zeros. But the real answer is 750. Okay, just like up here, 75, 750. So the area of Cindy's patch postage stamp quilt was 750. So in her 1,000, all of her 1,000 squares, within all of that, it was 750. Pretty amazing, isn't it? Those things take a lot of time to make. Alright, we finished that. Now let's go to our next engage portion. Engage number 2. Alright, let's go ahead and pause the video and you can write this portion down here. I'm going to keep talking, but you can pause the video to write that down. Jorge is making a scale model of the Willis Tower in Chicago for a theater set. Now let's stop there. What is he making? He's making something for a theater set. Now when you think of theater, you think of acting. So he's not going to be actually making the actual Willis Tower. Let me show you a picture of the Willis Tower in Chicago. I have seen this tower many times when I ventured down to Chicago. So here is the Willis Tower. It is one of the tallest buildings in the United States. It's not the tallest, but it is one of the tallest. So Jorge is trying to make that the Willis Tower, but it's only a scale model. It's not the actual size. And he's doing it for his theater set, for an acting thing. So when you guys are reading a word problem like this, try to visualize what's going on. That's the point I'm going with this, in showing you pictures. The height of the tower is 1,353 feet. So this thing is 1,353 feet. That's tall. That's real tall. If the model, we're talking about Jorge's scale model, is 1/100th of the actual size of the building, how tall is the model? Now 1/100th. Now remember when we first started our math this year, we talked about a number being 10 times more or 1/10 of, we're going back to that same kind of thinking. We're looking at 1/100th. So if we go over to our place value chart over here, we have the number 1 because it's in the ones place value. Then after we move from the decimal point, it's no longer called 1, it's called tenths. Then we have hundredths. In decimal form, it will look like 0.1, but in fraction form, it's going to be 1 over 10, and then we go to the hundredth place, and it's going to be 0.01, and in fraction form, it's going to be 1 over 100. That's what we're trying to figure out the answer for, okay? 1 over 100. How big is Jorge's scale model of the Willis Tower? Well, let's start off first with multiplying it by 1. Now, here's the thing. We're no longer multiplying by decimals. I mean, it is a decimal here. Yes, but we're trying to figure out the fractions, okay? Because they didn't tell us up here the decimal points. We're just assuming, okay? So this is 1, and then this is 1/10, and this is 1 over 100. Now your book actually gave you 0.01, but we're imagining that this is actually 1/10 and 1 in 100. Okay, so that's what we're multiplying. 1/10 and 1 over 100. I want you to write that into your notes, okay? So we are multiplying fractions. When we see fractions like that, we are going to be going to the left. We're moving our decimal place to the left, okay? So 1 times 1,353 is just going to be 1,353 because, remember, we're just multiplying it by 1. Now let's look at 1/10, okay? Take your highlighter, highlight the only 0 we have there. We have 1 0. So that means we are moving our decimal point 1 place. But wait, there is no decimal point in 353. You can say, but what about the comma? The comma can be a decimal point. No, it is not. Where do you think the decimal point is in this number? It's at the end, remember? If we had $1,353.00, we will put 0.00. Or the tower is 1,353 feet and 0 inches, it's just going to be 0.00. So our decimal point is right here, right smack dab here, and we're moving our decimal point 1 place. Why? Because we have 1 0. So we're going to move this guy 1 or dopende or 1. So our new number is going to be, you can go ahead and put the actual number down again and just place the decimal in. 13.53. It's 13 feet and 53 inches. Oh no, I'm sorry, I messed that up. I'm sorry, you guys, I moved that decimal point twice. It's supposed to, decimal point goes between the 5 and the 3 right there. So if Jorge had made a scale model that was 1/10 of the actual size, it would have been 135 feet 3 inches. But it's not. He made it 1/100. So that means we gotta go. That was my dog shaking if you heard that. We gotta go another pattern. So go ahead and highlight your 2 zeros, which means we are going to be moving our decimal point twice. So let's imagine our decimal point being back right there again. And you're gonna be moving it twice. 1, 2, dopende, quilly, 1, 2. Decimal point goes right there. So our new answer should be 1, 3. You can write down the number again. 5, 3. And we moved our decimal point twice so that it's going to be between 3 and 5 here. So the answer to our problem of how tall Jorge's scale model of the Willis Tower is it is 13 feet, and 53 inches. Now, if you imagine that, I'm about 5'1". I'm about 5 feet 1 inch. I think Tyshawn is the closest to my height. I might be a little bit over 5'1". I think I might be 5'2" or something. So if you had Tyshawn, who's about my same height, 2 Tyshawns like standing on top of each other, that would be about 10 feet. And maybe you put a third grader, not a third grader, maybe a first grader on top. That would be about 13 feet. So that's how big Jorge's scale model was. It was about 13 feet, 53 inches. It might not be 53 inches actually, but that's what it is. You guys get that so far? Okay. Last engaged portion before you do your work. Okay. So here is our next one. Go ahead and write this down. I'm going to read now, so if you need more time, pause the video. 3 friends are selling items at an arts and crafts fair. Okay? They're going to be selling some arts and crafts. Josie makes $45.75 selling jewelry. You need to go ahead and highlight Josie makes $45.75 because that's the first event. Mark makes 100 times as much as Josie. So go ahead and highlight that because Mark is going to be making 100 times as much as Josie makes by selling his custom furniture. Chance makes a tenth of the money Mark makes by selling paintings. So go ahead and highlight Chance makes a tenth. How much money does each friend make? So that's what we're trying to figure out. How much money does each friend make? Go ahead and underline that because that's what we're trying to figure out. Sorry, I always mess up that part. It got squiggly. Alright, so what we know is that Josie makes $45.75. So go ahead and write that down. And we also know that there are 2 other friends in the mix, and we're trying to figure out how much money they made. We're trying to figure out how much Mark made and how much Chance made. So go ahead and write this down. Pause your video and write this down. Make sure you put the table with the 2 names in the middle. This should be a C. Alright, now let's analyze this problem, okay? Mark makes 100 times as much as Josie. Now when you see the word times, that means you're multiplying because times is a word for the operation multiplication. So Mark is making 10 times. He makes 100 times. So 100 times as much as Josie. How much did Josie make? She made $45.75. So we need to multiply 100 times 45.75. That's the first step we're doing, okay? But we're not going to just multiply them together because you guys haven't really learned how to multiply decimals yet. But we're going to look for patterns, okay? So first things first. What is 1 times 45.75? What is 1 times 45.75? Well, you should know this already, so I'm not going to explain it. It's $45.75. Now let's multiply 10 because after 1 in our chart is 10. So it goes 1. We're just adding a 0. What I'm doing here. I added a 0. What's 10 times 45.75? Now you might be saying, why did we make it a 10? Because we're working with the powers of 10, guys. So when we're working with powers of 10, we just add 1. We write 1 and add a 0. Those are the powers of 10. So what's 10 times 45.75? Well, remember, guys, if you look at your notes, So we have the numbers here, right? 10 times the decimal point. So when we see a whole number being multiplied by a decimal, we are moving our decimal point to the right. Remember, when we have decimals, we move the decimal point to the right. See, I have right here, guys. So what we're going to do is we are going to go back down. And we are moving this decimal point over. How many times are we moving them? We have 1, 0. So we're moving the decimal point 1. Right smack dab here. So our new answer, 10 times 45.75. We write our number down. And the decimal point moved over 1. Dopinde. So our new decimal is $457.50. You can add that 0 if you want. Okay, now we are going to multiply. After 10, we put the 1 down. Then we add 2 zeros because we're using powers of 10. 10 times, 100 times 45.75. And that's what we're trying to figure out, right, guys? Because Mark made 100 times 45.75. He made 100 times more than Josie. So he made more money than her because he sold custom furniture. So that means he put in a lot more work into his, well, she probably put in a lot of work too. But furniture is probably going to sell more than jewelry. Okay, so we are going to first highlight our zeros because this is going to tell us how many times we are moving our decimal point. And we have 2 zeros, so that means we are moving the decimal point over 2 times. 1, 2. Dopinde quelli. 1, 2. So our new number is 45.75, and then we put our decimal point right behind the 5. $4,575, and we could put the zeros down to help us understand. So Mark made $4,575. That's a lot of money he made. He sold furniture, so he sold 100 times more. When you see 100 times more, you are going to be multiplying and moving the decimal point twice. Right now Chance makes 1/10 of the money. So Chance is making 1/10. Let's look at our place value chart. Where do we see the word 10th? 10th is in the decimal points. So that means it's a fraction. If we have fractions, we are moving our decimal point over to the left. Right? Yeah, left. So that means the number is going to be smaller. So he made Chance. So what we know so far is Chance made less than Mark. Mark is the one who made more. He made $4,575. Josie made $45.75. And Chance makes 1/10 of the money Mark makes by selling paintings. So we know that Mark made $4,575 times how much is Chance? How much did Chance make? He made 1/10 of what Mark made. Now, why did I put 1/10 there? Because 1/10 is represented by 1 over 10 here in fraction form. You could put 0.1. That works too. So instead of putting 1/10, you could write 0.1. But for the sake of this video, I'm going to put 1/10. Okay? But you could do 0.1. They're the same thing. They mean the same thing. All right. So we are moving our decimal point over. We're trying to figure out how much this is. What the answer is. So we're going to first start by figuring out the pattern. Every time you are working with a pattern, you start with 1. 1 times 4,575 is what? It's just going to be 4,575. Now we're going to move to the 10th. which is just the next place over. So we don't have to go any further than the 1/10. So go ahead and write 1/10 times 44,575. Or if you chose to do decimals, you can write, no, don't do decimals, okay? So if you made this a decimal like this, erase it for now, okay? Because I don't want to confuse you. All right. So we are doing 1/10 times 4,575. Why? Because Chance made 1/10 of what Mark made. So go ahead and highlight the 0 because that's going to tell us how many times we are moving the decimal point. There's only 1 0, so that means we are moving the decimal point over 1. Now, where's the decimal point in this? It's not the comma, so go ahead and write the number down again. The decimal point is right smack dab there, like we did in this first one here. So we are moving this decimal place over 1. Open there. So Chance made 4, I don't know what happened to my thing. 4, go ahead and write it down, 4,575, and the decimal point goes between the 7 and 5. Chance made $457.50. $457.50. So I was wrong. He was first to make the most. Chance was second. And Josie made the least. She made $45.75. That was a lot of work, right? You guys probably won't have to do that in your workbook, but that is a lot. But you know what? I think you guys can do it. Okay, that video was 37 minutes and 12 seconds. I know that was a lot, and I didn't put brain breaks. I forgot to do that. So I'm going to give you a brain break now, and you are going to do this is super fun, guys. We are finally going to open our workbook. Well, we opened it earlier in the year, but we're going to open it again today. Open up your workbook, that big book in your desk that we don't really use. Open it up to page 162, and you are going to work on problems 1 through 10. 1 through 10 in that workbook. So it's page 162 through 163, and you are working on problems 1 through 10. Now, number 9 and 1 look different, and we didn't cover that, but it's the same idea about patterns, okay? So try to figure those two out. If you figure it out and you get them, you try, it will show a lot of your independence, and you just give it a shot, okay? If you get it wrong, that's fine. It's okay to get things wrong. So what I want you to do is pages 162 through 163 in that big workbook, that big orange book, math book that's titled Go Math in your desk. Pages 162 through 163, numbers 1 through 10. Try 1 and 9, okay? Don't skip it, but try them. All right. You guys, I hope you guys understood this. It's a lot to take in over internet, but I really hope you guys are doing well in class and you are being very respectful and kind to the teacher and to one another, okay? So I'm going to give you a brain break, and then you will start your lesson, your math work. Okay, here's your brain break. We didn't get to watch a music video today, and this might be a bit blurry because of the internet connection here, but at least you can listen to the song, right? So here it goes.
lost away on a lonely shore. I can see in your eyes, dear, it's hard to take for a moment more. We've got to burn the ships, cut the ties, send a flare into the night. Say a prayer, turn the tide, dry your tears and wave goodbye. Step into a new day. We can rise up from the dust and walk away. We can dance upon the heartache, yeah. So light a match, leave the past, burn the ships, and don't you look back. Don't let it arrest you. This fear of falling again. And if you need a refuge, I will be right here until the end. Oh, it's time to burn the ships, cut the ties, send a flare into the night. Say a prayer, turn the tide, dry your tears and wave goodbye. Step into a new day. We can rise up from the dust and walk away. We can dance upon the heartache, yeah. So light a match, leave the past, burn the ships, and don't you look back. So long to shame, walk through the sorrow, out of the fire, into tomorrow. So flush the pills, face the fear, feel the weight disappear. We're coming clean, we're born again. I hope our lungs can breathe again. Oh, we can breathe again. And step into a new day. We can rise up from the dust and walk away. We can dance upon the heartache, yeah. So light a match, leave the past, burn the ships, and don't you look back. And don't you look back. And don't you look back.
So there we go. Start your math work, guys, and I hope you guys do well on it. Try not to if you guys don't get anything, rewatch some parts of the video. Okay? Have fun, guys.